The StormBox Pro fixes almost all my problems with the StormBox Micro, delivers even more room-filling sound, and offers a seamless user experience due to its Qualcomm chip. But is it worth spending $120? And how does it compare to the Bose and JBLs? We'll get into all the details starting right now. Selamat pagi! Good morning everyone, Kenneth here and welcome to my review of the Tribit StormBox Pro. I've used this for close to a month now, so I've got quite some experience that I can't wait to share with you guys. But as always, full disclaimers are in the description below, which reads I'm always giving you my own honest opinion, despite being provided a review unit. And I would appreciate it if you use the affiliate links because it'll help me support the channel. Thank you very much. In this video, we'll talk about the sound quality, build, my experience, and also check out the sound quality sample test, latency test, as well as the mic test, which you probably won't see on other videos. So make sure to stay tuned until the very end. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and not taking more of your time, let's talk about the most important thing, the sound quality. I don't know about you, but the first thing that came to my mind when I see the 2.1 setup, so 2 mid-high drivers, 1 independent sub plus 2 passive radiators, will give me bass unlike anything else at this size. I mean, that's what I got from the StormBox Micro, right? The bass response here is impressing people left and right, but for good or for worse, that is not the case with the StormBox Pro. Interestingly enough, when I do a blind test comparing the StormBox Pro to the StormBox Micro, you're still getting that natural sound that doesn't try to pump the bass or push the vocals or even treble too much. So the sound signature isn't quite as different as one might think, and I respect Tribit for sticking to their sound signature across all their products like this. But of course, you're not paying double the price for nothing, right? There are 2 main differences that net an obvious win for the StormBox Pro. First, it's got a stereo setup, so songs like Bohemian Rhapsody will sound separated instead of coming from just one center spot. But this effect is quite limited, and we'll get into the details why in a minute. Second, despite not pumping crazy amounts of bass, the dedicated sub here makes this a more capable, more proper room-filling speaker. Even only at 40% volume, this will easily fill a medium-sized room. Let's say something like twice my apartment here, and in case you need more bass, put the speaker on the floor and face the backside towards the wall. You'll thank me later. Also, in terms of volume, this goes very loud, and I mean crazy loud, as I've seen Picky Audio compare this to even the JBL Extreme. You know, a speaker this big, this thing is still louder. I'll link to his video down below when it's available, but my point is, in case you bring this outdoors or use it in a large room, you still have a ton of headroom, and the bass will keep on increasing until around 80% volume, and it doesn't distort too, so that's great. Now my problem is, because I'm just listening in my small apartment here, I rarely touch anything above 50%, and around that 30 to 40% volume, I always feel like it's either too loud or too quiet. You can mitigate this issue on Android by turning off absolute volume in your Bluetooth or developer settings, so the volume control is separated between the speaker and the phone, and you have more granular control on your phone. But unfortunately, if you use iOS devices, you can't do such a thing, and this may or may not be a problem depending on your use case, but it's something you should know nonetheless. Now, I think it's clear that the StormBox Pro is much better than a Micro here now, but it's not as impressive anymore because it's coming from a hefty 1 kilogram package as opposed to the tiny 300 gram speaker that fits in your palm. But of course, it's got its own limitations, and there are 2 things that you should be aware of before getting yourself a StormBox Pro. Number 1, the pair of mid-high drivers is positioned 90 degrees to the side. Like I've said before, this causes the soundstage to be very limited, only giving you a vague idea if something is coming out from the right side or the left side, but at least it's there. And you have to understand that this is a thing with portable speakers in general, because it's designed to be portable. You can't really put the speakers too far apart, so the stereo effect is just limited by design. The bigger problem, in my opinion, is the mid to high clarity, because these speakers don't point directly to your ear, and worse, the passive radiator is facing you instead. The upper frequencies will sound kinda muffled. This isn't a big deal when you're further away and you move around the room often, but when you just want to put the speaker in front of you and listen, Honestly, I prefer putting the left side or the right side towards me and get that clear mids and highs. Compare this to the competition like the SoundLink Revolve, which chose to put only one mono driver but face it downwards with a reflector so you'll hear the same sound no matter where you stand, or a more traditional design like JBL Charge that faces the speakers forward so it's more directional. The sweet spot will only be in front of the speaker, so it's simply a matter of which compromise you want to take, and in my opinion, there's no wrong answer here. Now, as for the second thing, I found that even with a dedicated 3-inch sub here, the bass still doesn't reach anything lower than 40 Hz. So it kind of feels like the same as this tiny speaker, but don't get me wrong, this still sounds fuller and more powerful, way more powerful when it comes to the mid bass. So most EDM songs honestly will sound fantastic, but when you play something like The Weekend by SEA that has a lot of sub bass notes, you can barely hear them with the StormBox Pro. Never mind the StormBox Micro here, so those are the limitations that you should understand. One last thing I want to talk about is the X-Bass mode, which boosts the mid-bass frequencies pretty nicely, and at lower volumes, I think it's a must-on feature. No matter which song you're listening to, it makes it sound full-bodied, and it also works great in parties. If you want to make this the center of attention, it's gonna pump out a satisfying amount of bass, but still not overwhelming the other frequencies. But sometimes it could be overwhelming, especially when you put it in places that amplify bass, like using it in a bathroom for example. And I really appreciate how turning X-Bass off is only a button press away, and it works wonders, so you have the option to enjoy great sound anywhere you put the speaker, and I like it very much. Okay, let's take a listen to the sound quality recording now. Keep in mind that this is made only to give you a rough idea of how it sounds, but still, I recommend you put your headphones on and let's check it out.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. Where we started out. Get me out of now. Where we started out.
Moving on to build quality and features now. Inside the box, there's nothing much other than a manual book, a charging cable, and the speaker itself. So let's focus on the buttons up here first. These are all rubber part, unlike the Micro, which coating chips off quite easily. This feels way more durable. Then the rubber handle here is super helpful for carrying the speaker around. I could also hang it on door handles or cloth hangers, which is nice. Then the rest of the body is the same fabric mesh all over with a solid rubber footing, which prevents the speaker from moving, and honestly, I like this design a lot. Even more so when you know that this is still IP67 water resistant, beating Bose Revolve speakers that tops at IP55. So not only water splashes, but accidental drops into water would do no harm to the speaker. It can also stereo pair if you have two StormBox Pros. It's got aptX codec, multi-pairing support, and most importantly, holding the Bluetooth button and putting it to pairing mode does not disrupt the music that's playing. This is a very small thing, but I really appreciate it. Perhaps thanks to that Qualcomm chip. Good job. Now talking about battery life, this is the one aspect that I wish could be better on the StormBox Micro, and well, that wish has been granted. The 10,000 mAh battery here is so big, they've included a USB-A port at the back to charge out other devices. When using the speaker daily for an hour or so listening to music, this thing lasted for weeks, and like until now, I've only charged this thing like twice in a month. Basically, you will never find a speaker ran out of battery. I never did. Tribit claims 24 hours of playtime, which aligns pretty well with my experience that's playing music at around 40% volume, and you can kill it in a day, like the whole entire day if you put it louder, but that already outperforms anything in the competition. So I've got no complaints here other than probably the lack of fast charging, but yeah, charging takes a while. 7 hours with a 5-volt 2 amps power brick to charge from 0 to full, but it's nothing out of the ordinary because the battery is just that big. Now, as far as the controls go, everything is covered here from a center button that controls everything basically. Play and pause on single tap, next song on double tap, previous song on triple tap, as well as voice assistant on hold. Then volume buttons here, you can hold it longer to change the volume quickly. Also, the power button doesn't need to be pressed for too long. You just, do a quick tap and it would turn the speaker on and off. I like that too. And about connectivity, it's rated at 30 meters with support for Bluetooth 5.0, and I found the connection to be mostly solid, but I've had audio stutters when I was only less than 5 meters away, but I noticed later that's because I put the speaker too close to a Wi-Fi router. So keep in mind, this is still not immune to wireless interference. Anyway, we're going to see the test now, and about the microphone, it's still not loud enough even when you're only an arm's length away from the speaker, but the quality has definitely improved from the StormBox Micro here. So yeah, let's check it out now. Alright, so welcome to the microphone test of the Tribit StormBox Pro, and the microphone is somewhere around the front here, so if I get closer you will hear my voice clearly, but not so much if I talk on the other side. But let's put this away a little bit more because you usually don't talk that close to a speaker, right? So this is it, the sound quality of the Tribit StormBox Pro. So now let's turn on a simulated crowd noise on, and I'm not sure whether you will ever use this outside, but I mean, I'm just going to do the test anyway. So this is it, and can you hear any sort of noise reduction kicking in? If you see, then yeah, that's good. I'm not sure if it's even getting my voice properly here, so I'm going to talk a little bit closer now to the front of the speaker, and this is the Tribit StormBox Pro. So what do you think of the sound quality? Let me know down in the comments below, and let's get back to the video. So, as a conclusion, I like how the StormBox Pro sounds. It's capable, it's natural, it's free of distortion, and it's got all the basics right. The big battery, the great connectivity, user-friendly experience, and a waterproof design. The only, and I mean the only thing that I could ask is probably a 3.5mm input jack, so I can have a lower latency gaming experience, or I can connect it to older devices like a DVD player or an old PC, for example. That said, I enjoyed my time using the StormBox Pro, and I'm gonna keep on using it. I've watched the entire season 1 of Shadow and Bone, pumped the volume up to around 60%, and really felt that bass rumble. It was like I'm watching in a cinema. Then I've also brought it to a small party with my friends, and again, it fills the whole medium-sized room perfectly. Considering the main competitor, the Soundlink Revolve, that retails at $200 to $300, this $120 Tribit suddenly sounds like a great deal. So that is it for the video. Let me know if you have any further questions. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if this video helped, and thank you for watching. I'm Kenneth, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.